everyone, my name is Melody and thank you for clicking on this video. So yesterday I made a video that was kind of like my initial knee-jerk reaction to the Taylor Hall trade. It was at 2 in the morning. I was overtired and underwhelmed with the return. So since then I have taken a nap, I've done some meditation, I've cleared my mind. And so I wanted to discuss it now kind of with the day passing and kind of letting it sink in a little bit more. Usually when I make these videos I kind of like to sit back, wait a second, make sure I have all the facts and all the information before saying what I have to say. But yesterday I didn't do that, so now I kind of want to just talk about it again, just so I clarify kind of what I'm thinking here. So it's not like I am going back on anything I said. Like I don't change my mind on anything. I still think it was a bad trade. I think Kevyn Adams could have gotten more than he got. I think teams around the league view the Sabres as, you know, desperate, weak, and they take advantage of that. And it's just frustrating because you look around the league and you see, you know, what other guys were able to get on the trade market, and to see Taylor Hall kind of get what he got, it didn't feel good. Like, it was frustrating. One thing I will say that it didn't properly take into consideration was the fact that Taylor Hall moved his no trade clause, and then, you know, later in the day as more details come out, the vibe is generally that Taylor Hall might have kind of like forced his way onto the Bruins. He seemed like he really wanted to play for Boston, and that might have handcuffed Kevyn Adams a little bit. Pierre LeBrun tweeted today that he said that, "I believe that the Sabres had a better offer for Hall from a Western team, but as Hall said, he really wanted to play in Boston." So, and we can have a discussion about a GM giving a guy on a 1-year, like, try it out kind of deal a full no movement clause. But we'll save that for another day. I think from a Sabres fan perspective, I think the thing that most people didn't really get with what I was trying to say yesterday was, like, this isn't really an isolated incident. This Taylor Hall trade isn't alone enough to kind of make me, like, go nuts. This is just another move in a long list of moves that just seems so unbelievably underwhelming. Obviously, it was very disappointing that Taylor Hall didn't work out for the Sabres. He brought so much hope and so much excitement. And I will admit, when I made the video when we first signed Taylor Hall, I will admit that I had a good number of, you know, Devils fans and Coyotes fans warning me. They're like, yeah, Melody, I know you're excited, but, you know, he might be a little bit overrated. Just be prepared to be disappointed. And, you know, I guess I understand what what they're saying now. Taylor Hall clearly isn't the superstar that he was in the year he won the MVP, and he never will be again. He's obviously getting older. He's pushing 30. But, I mean, he's still a legitimate top 6 player, and it's weird to me to see his value just have tanked this much just because of what happened. You know, it was just last year that Jason Botterill traded Marco Scandella to the Montreal Canadiens for essentially a 4th, and then a couple months later the Habs took Marco Scandella and flipped him for a 2nd. It's like, it's that kind of stuff, right? Don't even get me started on the O'Reilly trade. Like, it just goes on, like, move after move, where you just feel like the Sabres just always seem to get the short end of the stick. But I mean, it's stuff like that. Like, Jason Botterill thought the best he could do for Marco Scandella was a 4th. And then a couple months later, Montreal gets a 2nd for him. It's that kind of stuff. The exact same player, 2 rounds. So to me, like, the frustrating part about it all is that the Sabres have this perception, I would assume, around the league that we can easily be taken advantage of and we can be swindled like this. But to me, though, like, honestly, I wasn't even really looking for a ton more from the Taylor Hall trade. To me, best case scenario would have been something similar to the Evander Kane trade back when the Sabres traded Evander Kane to the Sharks. It was almost like seemingly the exact same situation, like Taylor Hall and Evander Kane, both of their values severely tanked, thought to be really good top 6 players, then, you know, didn't really garner much interest at the deadline. So the Sabres ended up getting a conditional 2nd round pick that would become a 1st if the Sharks made it to, I think, like the conference finals, or if Evander Kane re-signed with the team. Eventually, Evander Kane re-signed. So to be honest, I feel like I would have been satisfied had we just gotten that condition, and I really don't think that that's really that big of an ask, to be honest. Like, think about it, like, it's a weaker draft year in a year where, you know, it's a pretty weird year for scouting, right? Like, a lot of guys haven't been playing for a long time. Like, it's just a weird year. So I don't think it would have been really that big of a thing to get a condition on the 2nd round pick to make it a 1st. You know what I mean? But I mean, I don't know how you can feel happy with that kind of return, even with all the factors, even with the no movement clause, you know, even with his value being where it is. But I mean, then you look around the league and then you see guys like Nick Foligno getting a 1st. You see guys like David Savard getting a 1st. You see guys like Travis Zajac and Kyle Palmieri getting a haul. You see Anthony Mantha getting what Anthony Mantha got. And you even look at previous years, like Blake Coleman got a 1st and Barclay Goodrow got a 1st. You know what I mean? And then you even look at Sam Bennett. Bennett. Like, what did Sam Bennett got? He got a second round pick and a second round prospect from last year, right? And I know it's different situations. I know Hall had a higher cap number. You know, I know Sam Bennett's younger, has RFA status. But I mean, is the general consensus not that Florida overpaid for Sam Bennett? Is the general consensus not that Washington might have overpaid for Anthony Mantha? Or that the Leafs might have overpaid for Foligno? Or that, you know, Tampa might have overpaid for Savard? And I think that's why I got so frustrated yesterday. It's not just what Taylor Hall got, but it's everything around it. Like, it's really hard to go back and think of a trade where you could say that the Sabres probably got the better end of it. I mean, you can look at Skinner. Like, that seemed like a great deal. He scored 40 goals the year we traded a second and a third for him, but that ended up kind of not working out, right? So it just seems like over the years, the Sabres just have never gotten value where you can look at the other team and say, hey, maybe they might have overpaid a little bit. So to me, that's the more frustrating part. And I had a lot of people kind of getting on me a little bit about saying that Hall was worth more. Maybe he's not worth more, but I still think at bare minimum, they probably could have gotten a condition on that second round pick, and they probably didn't have to get rid of Curtis Lazar, you know what I mean? Throwing in Curtis Lazar, that's such a weird part of it. You know, I know there are a ton of factors why teams value some players more than others. You know, I know the cap number is a factor. I know fit is very important. Like, why is it that GMs are just, like, so high IQ when dealing with the Sabres, but, like, they can go overpay for other players on other teams? You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of deal. Like, they can hold out and understand that the Sabres won't push hard for much, I guess. But I mean, you can really only blame the Sabres for putting themselves in that situation where, you know, the players have all the leverage or other teams have all the leverage. And that's why the Sabres can't get these kind of deals where they think that other teams are willing to pay more than guys are worth. Like, Nate Geary, to me, said it best, and he's from WGR. He said, "The Sabres are a lost cause. The last 12 hours of movement shouldn't be the thing to push you over the bridge. The roster is bad. They have no scouting department. They overspend for players, then trade them away at diminished value. They don't make obvious waiver additions. They don't empower the right people in power decision-making roles. They don't understand how to create leverage with smart contract extensions. They often are taken advantage of by opposing GMs in trades. They can't figure out the game day experience." That's pretty much it. Like, they just make bad decisions after bad decisions, and it all contributes. You know, the fact that Kevin Adams a year ago was coaching the Buffalo Junior Sabres, and now he's an NHL general manager without having any NHL front office experience whatsoever. I mean, that all contributes to it. I've said it in so many videos throughout this season that this is kind of like the Murphy's Law kind of season where everything in the world is going wrong. And I think that's kind of what leads you to this point. It leads you to the point where the Sabres are a last place team, where Taylor Hall's value is as low as it is, you know, all this stuff. So give me like a little bit more luck next year, and maybe we're going to start climbing our way out of this. So, I mean, in the end, though, Taylor Hall was an experiment, and they brought him in for nothing, so getting value for him, getting a second-round pick is something. Another part of the problem is, what does a second-round pick do for you? The Sabres just have this awful, awful, awful history of just drafting so poorly, and I've just hated second-round picks because of how badly the Sabres are in drafting in the second round. They've had one hit in the second round for the longest time. They drafted Jake McCabe in the second round in 2012, and since then, basically nothing, which is impressive because in 2013 they had 3 seconds. In 2014 they had 3 seconds, and not a single player drafted in the second round since then has played more than 50 games for the Sabres. And it's even worse this year because the Pagulas fired all their scouts. They have like, what, 6 scouts right now? They have Kevin Adams as their general manager, who, like I said, really has no front office experience whatsoever. And then 6 scouts or whatever. He has no assistant general manager. They're talking about like bolstering the front office a little bit, but it's inexcusable that it's been this depleted for this long, especially when you're trying to rebuild your team through the draft, because other than Taylor Hall, no one wants to sign with you in free agency. Not a lot of people are going to move no trade clauses if they have them to come to Buffalo. You have to build through the draft, and the fact that they have depleted their front office this much is inexcusable. But in terms of Taylor Hall, I'm nearly certain he's going to have success in Boston. Even Curtis Lazar, too. I really liked Curtis Lazar as, like, a bottom 6 penalty killer. I thought he was a great penalty killer. And, you know, I have no doubt that they're going to have success, and I have no doubt that they got a bargain value for him. He's still a legitimate top 6 winger, and when he doesn't have to be relied upon as, like, the guy, I'm sure he's gonna be very valuable for them. But what can you do? So I hope I was a little bit more clear with my thoughts this time instead of angrily screaming at a camera at 2 in the morning. Let me know what you think in the comments below, but reminder, we have civil discussions here. We don't get mean. We don't, you know, say hurtful things. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you soon. Go Bills. Bye, guys.